Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and today we're getting a new engine put in my son's Jeep, and I think we got a heck of a deal on it, and I think we've got the perfect guy who's an expert to do the job. So I'm gonna head to Kansas City. It's about a 2.5 hour drive, and then this engine right here, out of a 2005 Jeep with 90,000 miles on it, is going in this 1999 Wrangler TJ. And there's a few modifications that have to be made to make that work, but I've got the right guy for the job. So there are 3 compatibility issues putting a 2005 engine Jeep 4-liter into a 99. One is where the water pump bolts on, and this is a different, they had to add this bolt right here, drill and tap it so that the original can bolt on. Number 2 is this has a distributor instead of coil packs. On the 2005, it had individual coils on each spark plug. This will use the distributor. And number 3 is where the alternator bolts on. This uses a single bolt bracket, and mine had a 2-bolt bracket. And so you have to fabricate some kind of a bracket to hold the alternator in the right place. So I was planning to do this myself, and the shop owner was telling me how to make this happen, and I was going to give it a try. I was a little bit concerned about those differences, and then he said, "Oh, by the way, I'll do it for this price," and I was shocked how inexpensive it was going to be, so I decided to just go for it. This shop does nothing but Jeeps, so they do all kinds of Jeep upgrades. A lot of guys will come in with a good running Jeep, and they want to put a V8 in it, and what that means is the engine out of a Jeep like this, it's a nice Jeep. Any of these Jeeps, they come across these engines that aren't being pulled because there's something wrong with them. And that's what I'm buying. Nice looking rig.
Over in the corner on the lift, the owner of the shop has a late model Jeep truck with a Hellcat swap going in it. And I didn't get a shot of it, but pretty cool project.
I like Jeeps. I don't know why. But I guess I fall in line with the owners of this shop on that. Man, this is a highly customized rig here. So if you're within a couple hours of Kansas City, I highly recommend this shop. You come check them out. I'll put the contact information in the description. So my goal is to stay out of these guys' way while they're working, but still show you what's happening. They start off by draining the coolant. Taking off the breather, and it looks like the radiator. Will you guys drop the front grill? No. Now, this radiator was brand new 2 days ago. I guess a week now, but it hasn't been driven since I put that on. So now they're taking off the air conditioning unit, which on this specific Jeep wasn't functional. Do you ever attempt to keep the AC hooked up when it's a functioning system and pull it out of the way?
We do.
But since this one's not hooked up, you don't have to mess with that.
Correct.
So did this come out of a Jeep that's in here?
No, not this one. Not this one. It's one we bought.
Ah.
That we did. We finished it. It was a customer's Jeep. We already finished it. So
What is that you just pulled off?
these are throttle cables, kick down cables. This one doesn't have cruise kick down cable, throttle cable. This is just emission stuff. So
Basically a matter of popping off all the electrical connectors and remembering where they go. Have much problem with engine mounts on these?
No.
They're usually good?
yeah, and yours look really good shape. They hardly ever go out.
So that engine has the same hole for the distributor, but they just didn't use a distributor. So was there normally like a sensor in there?
Yeah, so it's just a cam sensor. It tells the injectors when to fire.
You disconnecting the bolt that holds the distributor in right now, taking that out?
Yeah, just so we don't break it. We're gonna get as much stuff out of our way as we possibly can. We don't need to worry about timing because the new motor will time it. So when we stab the distributor back in it, so just in the alternator. Cool.
So we've got the distributor out, now the coil. And then we're disconnecting the transmission lines from the bottom of the radiator to get that out. I keep saying we because I've got a mouse in my pocket that's helping. Before deciding to change this engine, I was going to change the oil pump. So as part of that process, I've already removed the starter. Just 2 bolts down there to remove the starter. I've already taken the exhaust off just on the top. It's still setting, the exhaust is still setting on the skid plate, but it's disconnected from the manifold up here. So the alternator is what needs that special bracket made. Some of the later models are a little harder to remove, but on this 99, it's just 4 bolts here to remove the fan. So they got that off, the shroud, and the radiator. So is the full rebuild, is that your favorite thing? Like these are, where you've torn the whole thing down?
Yeah. Or, I mean, we love V8 swaps, you know, of course. But this is the best motor Jeep ever made in a Jeep.
Okay, and this is the bracket that's different on this engine.
Yep. Yeah, that's.
The other one has a single hole right there. So you personally, are you a daily driver Jeep guy? You a rock climber guy?
Daily driver. And
You have an old one or a new one?
newer. Yeah, it's hard to go 4-wheeling when you have kids in the house still that take all your time.
Yeah, that's an expensive hobby as far as put all that money in it and one mistake and it's all shot. I think if I spent, all that money rebuilding one, I'd be afraid to take it out.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with how efficiently these 2 guys worked together. The second guy has already disconnected the intake manifold and all the fuel lines and all of these electrical connectors while I was filming on the other side.
So what was the story with looking exhaust on that engine? It's like, it looks brand new.
It is. The 97, actually, YJ's too, the manifolds were notorious for cracking. And I bet you once we pull this, we'll see if this one was cracked, and it probably was. And so they changed the design, but even with the new design, they still crack over time. But
I hear everyone say that. So that one had just already gotten a new manifold.
yes. Well, we assumed yours was going to be cracked, so we just put a new one on it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I definitely saw videos, people complaining about those exhausts.
It was cracked. Somebody's already welded it. So,
Yeah.
So right here, you see.
Yep.
See all this weld that somebody's like put in there.
After taking everything off, you can get to the transmission bolts from the top. I thought that was one you had to crawl under to do.
Well, usually you have 2 E12 bolts on the top that they're like really hard to get. But I'm seeing someone already has been here. They have different bolts, I guess.
So for the average homeowner, this is probably the hardest part, getting this to fit.
100%.
So when I went online and asked, people said just get the same year.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's this right here.
Yeah.
You need me to hold the wrench from the top? Do you know what size it is?
916.
Okay. I'm on that top one. So the transmission bolts to the motor, it's got how many bolts? Do you know?
Usually have 2 8 bolts on the top, 2 5/8 on the sides, 2 9/16. I think it's 2 18 mil on the bottom. So it's like 8 bolts.
Some of them go through and some of them are tapped in.
Yeah.
Normally they crack here and right here, and you can tell this was cracked, so somebody's already
Welded it up.
welded it.
It's not the greatest weld you ever saw. Wondered if they did it in place.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to unbolt that than to drive this out, or you have to do both.
I do both. Just
Okay.
most of the time with the standard, I always do both. Sometimes with an automatic, we can get away with just doing these, but just to be on the safe side, so we're not fighting things. Drop the motor down. Easier for him to get the top bolts, you know. Let's just get the torque converter bolts, and then I'll unhook this motor out here.
All right, so whenever you tell me to, I just turn this wrench so you can get to the other flywheel bolts. You can see one.
Okay, can you hold it there?
Yeah.
Okay, can you turn it? There you go. That's fine.
Hold it there.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next one.
You can see these lines are pretty bad. I should have replaced those whenever I did the radiator. So we're going to replace those lines and the water pump. And obviously we'll need a new water pump gasket. The 4.7 stroker, is that a 4-liter that they've redone and bolted out?
So basically what they did is they took an old like 258 crank. So the 258 is the old 4.2, and then this is a 4.0, 242. And so they take it, we've built a couple strokers in the past, so I just don't make up numbers. So we take a 258 crank, stick it in a 4-liter bottle, the 258 rods, because these rods are longer, and then you use the 4.0 pistons, but then you bore it out to 30 or 40 over, and that's where you got your extra 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. And so we have a stroker on the,
Like this one right here, they probably paid $3,500 or something for that engine. Is it? Yeah, that's right. I was looking at them. They were, I think I remember 270, 200. I'm the holdup here. I pulled the starter off, but I put one of the bolts back through so I wouldn't lose the bolt. And it was the only thing holding the engine in. I'm gonna say that was out in an hour and 15 minutes. You say something was wrong with the motor mounts bad?
That one, we'll go see if they're not supposed to move at all, like real hard.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go ahead and we'll replace that real quick. We got some.
Okay, so here is the custom bracket.
So 1/2-inch bolts, bolted down to a tab, wicked solid mount, spaced exactly the way it was from the original bracket.
So it still uses these bolts, the 2 bolts up top, doesn't use this one. It's got this bracket here.
I would have shown them fabricating that bracket, but I had to run to O'Reilly's and get the water pump and the thermostat and the gaskets, and I didn't want to slow them down too much. So they swapped a few of the parts over while I was gone.
The coil and the distributor already in.
Good, good, okay. Okay.
I mean, it's almost there.
Which way do we need to go? I mean, I can go down a little bit more. Almost there. You still got the floor jack underneath there? Probably don't need it. You need to lower that floor jack down and it'll pop right in. If you need to lower it more, you can.
We just got the crank position sensor in. Now they're swapping out this motor mount that was bad.
Should be pretty close. Boom. Alrighty.
Don't say I didn't help.
Yeah, now we're cooking. Yeah.
I didn't have the camera on when he slid the intake on. Starting to look like something.
So those newer blocks, we had to drill and tap one hole to make it work, which was this one right here. Put the older style water pump on these newer blocks. Homestead station. Just gotta make sure it don't pop off there, and we're in good shape.
So I bought this really low mileage engine from them for $850 and paid $600 for the installation. Getting out the door for $1,400, $1,450 felt almost like steal.
All right, moment of truth here. Great oil pressure, great idle.
Thermostat hasn't opened yet.
So right now he's welding up a joist hanger, fixing that up, but sounds great. It's running fine. They're in Kansas City and they only do Jeeps, but I could not be more thrilled with the pricing and the service that I got. If you've got a Jeep that needs work and you're within a few hours of Kansas City, say check it out. I'll put the contact information in the video description. I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.